Leli hayase grasamana shramanta lokam samagran vadaner jalapi tejo birapurya jagat samagram vasastravogra patam panti Vishnu. O Vishnu, I see you devouring all people in your flaming mouths, and covering the universe with your immeasurable rays, scorching the worlds. You are manifest. Text 31. Akya me kobavan ugrara rupo namostuta deva vera prasida vigyatumachami bhavantamadhyam nahi prajami tata tava pravirtam. O Lord of Lords, so fierce of form, please tell me who you are. I offer my obeisances unto you. Please be gracious to me. I do not know what your mission is, and I desire to hear of it. Text 32. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Kalosmi Lokakshaya Krit Pravidho Lokan Samahar Tumiha Pravitta Arte Pitva Na Bhavashanti Sarve Yevishtarita Pratayek Shuyoda. The Blessed Lord said, Time I am, destroyer of the worlds, and I have come to engage all people with the exception of you, the Pandavas. All the soldiers here on both sides will be slain. Text 33. Tasmatva mudisha yasholabhavsya jitva satrum bhuksva rajyam samriddham madhyai vite nihita purvameva nirmita matram bhavashavashashan. Therefore get up and prepare to fight. After conquering your enemies, you will enjoy a flourishing kingdom. They are already put to death by my arrangement, and you, Vasavyashashin, can be but an instrument in the fight. Text 34. Dronam cha bhishmam cha jayadratam cha karnam tatayan api yodaviran maya hitam stvam jahimayatishta yudashta jeta shirane sapatnan. The Blessed Lord said, all the great warriors, Drona, Bhishma, Jayadratha, and Karna, are already destroyed. Simply fight and you will vanquish your enemies. Text 35. Sanjaya uvacha etak chutva vachanam keshavasya kirtanjalir vipamana kriti namaskritva bhuya eva krishnam sagad gadam bita bita prayamya. Sanjaya said to Dhritarashtra, O king, after hearing these words from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Arjuna trembled, fearfully offered his obeisances with folded hands, and began falteringly to speak as follows. And lastly, text 36. Arjuna uvacha stane hrishikesh tava prakritya jagat parishyati yanurajitya raksham shibhutani dishto javanti sarva namasyanti chasida sangha. Translation: O Hrishikesh, the world becomes joyful upon hearing your name, and thus everyone becomes attached to you. Although the perfected beings offer to you their respectful homage, the demons are afraid and they flee here and there. All this is rightly done. Okay, we'll go back to text chapter 11, text 24 or 25. O Lord of Lords, O refuge of the worlds, please be gracious to me. I cannot keep my balance, seeing thus your blazing death-like faces and awful teeth. In all directions I am bewildered. So, in this chapter entitled The Universal Form, Krishna is showing his Vishvarup, or his universal form, and he's showing Arjuna how everything, all of the creation, from the most tiny little particle to the largest thing here on earth, is all made up by him. And simultaneously it is part of him. So when Arjuna is seeing this, he's seeing everything in the universe as Krishna. And it's actually horrific. It's terrifying, as it's described in these verses. It is described in this chapter that he's seeing every form universal form to Arjuna. And it's completely effulgent, actually. It's very bright, it's blinding. And we're seeing, there's a very nice picture here in this Bhagavad Gita, a nice plate on the universal form. You're seeing endless colors, you're seeing numerous heads, you're seeing arms, torsos, legs. His mouth is wide open, and there's fire coming out of this mouth. Krishna's eyes, they're usually very large, and they're usually very sweet looking. They're described like lotus eyes, but these eyes are described very terrific and fearful looking. Scary eyes. When Arjuna sees the universal form, he's pretty much like shattered. His whole being is completely pervaded by this form. And he's unable to sustain any type of peace of body or mind when he's seeing it. He's trembling in his boots, some would say. And what is interesting is that when Arjuna starts to see this universal form, he starts to identify Krishna as Vishnu for the first time. Before this, they had more of a friendly relationship, and Arjuna, he may not have completely accepted that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, the creator of everything. So this is actually an important chapter. Some people, they don't like to lecture on this chapter, or they skip over it. I know Srila Prabhupada, he didn't lecture on this chapter at all, which is pretty interesting, I think. But it's important, because without it, then Arjuna may not have seen that Krishna is Vishnu. He may have not understood fully the Vishvarup. So previously, Krishna was...
Walk out here, and they did Harinam.
It's okay. Is everything okay? Okay. So, this verse 25, Arjuna is seeing his terrible teeth, the Vishvarup form's terrible teeth, and fire pouring out of his mouth. This Kalanal is this fire that is said to destroy all the worlds. This is what's pouring out of Vishnu's mouth. And Arjuna, he doesn't know which way is left, right, up, or down. He's totally bewildered by this. And everything, sometimes we can get to a point where we lose maybe control of our emotions, or we feel a bit bewildered ourselves over something very, very small. And Arjuna is experiencing something that is so great that he's starting to lose his control over his emotions, and even his whole existence it's being shattered. So we need to take a proactive approach to these times where we could maybe be bewildered due to some underlying circumstances. And we need to keep our cool, because it's possible that somebody falls down if they can't, keep their cool in these circumstances. So we have to try to put things into proper perspective. For instance, imagine you're going to like a horror film or something. This is what the materialists do for fun. They like to get spooked. Like this season, Halloween is coming up, right? The whole theme of it is to be in fear. So this is some entertainment for these materialists. So imagine if somebody goes to a horror film in the pursuance of trying to see God. They're going to go to the film and they're going to see this ghastly image and they're going to think, what the heck? This isn't God. This is terrifying. You know, what is this? There's fire coming out of this mouth. It's something like I've never seen before. There are people who wear masks on Halloween time, you know. Imagine a mask with a bunch of different heads, and it's terrifying. So Arjuna, he's similarly frightened in this experience. So the next verse we can take, it reads, the sons of Dhritarashtra, along with their allied kings and smashed by your fearful teeth. I see that some are being crushed by your teeth as well. So these various sons, it's both sides of the battle that are being engulfed in Krishna's mouth. So Arjuna is seeing this and he's like awestruck, right? Because Krishna, he's supposed to be playing on one side of this battle, this position. But all the sons are being engulfed in his mouth. Not only Dhritarashtra's sons, not only the mischievous and sinful living beings are rushing into the mouths, but the pious ones are too. And it's described like moths rush into a fire or a lamp. We see this a lot. You may have a lamp and the moths just go into it without any consideration of the consequence. And this is what's happening to all these soldiers. So Bhishma, Drona, Karna, all of the soldiers from both sides of the armies are being ruthlessly smashed by these teeth. Shri Gaura Nitai Ki Jai. So Vishnu's Virat Rupa is being described, and Vishnu also shows his Kala Rupa in this instance. And this word is being used as like all-pervading forms. It does not mean that because it's all-pervading there is no form. This is what some of the impersonalists think. Form is always there. And the universe, it's always there too. The universe, it generally has two dimensions, space and time, as we hear in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Space we usually see as direction, or like up, down, left or right, side to side. And all of his space, it's like non-existent, like he can't tell. Has that ever happened to anybody? Where they can't really tell if they're going left or right or side to side. Their space is a little off. Maybe there's some condition with the ears that causes this, where you lose your balance, and maybe your perception of space is a bit off. And then there's also time, which is creation and destruction. Time is the destroyer of worlds, as we hear in this set of verses, the famous Gita verse. So generally people, when they go to God, they know that they're expecting something and they want something good, something peaceful or soothing or sweet. So why is it that God is giving this ghastly vision to Arjuna? When people see something ghastly or scary, like a horror film, like I mentioned, they might be turned off by it. If somebody goes to the temple and they see the Virat Rup, they might be they never will come back. They'll be terrified. At least the devotees, they don't like this universal form as much. They're not really, it doesn't really excite them to see it. They're more interested, the bhaktas are more interested in Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who holds the flute and plays with the cowherd boys. In Vrindavan, he's a cowherd boy. Because that's very sweet, it's very nice. Whereas this horrific universal form, it's not so attractive. It's pretty far out, but it's not so attractive. So, any description of God, these people who are expecting, to see good in God, if they're going to go see God, they want to see something good. That's only like half of the perspective. Because God, He's just as much horrifying as He is beautiful, because He's everything, right? So He's just as much creation as He is destruction, right? There's two sides to the coin. If He's all-pervading and He's eternal, he has to have both sides of this picture. So somebody with a very limited understanding of God may not understand that, God can also appear like this. And there is a positive for His destruction, because He is destroying in order to make for new things to come. So this is a nice way to look at things. 28 reads, "As the rivers flow into the sea, so all the great warriors enter your blazing mouths and perish." And 29 reads, "I see all people rushing with full speed into your mouths as moths dash into a blazing fire." And 30 reads, "O Vishnu, I see you devouring all people in your flaming mouths, and covering the universe with your immeasurable rays. Scorching the worlds, you are manifest." So we've discussed this a bit. Prabhupada doesn't write any purports for these verses. 31 is, "O Lord of Lords, so fierce of form, please tell me who you are. I offer my obeisances unto you. Please be gracious to me. I do not know what your mission is, and I desire to hear of it." And then the famous verse 32, 11:32, the Blessed Lord said, "Time I am, destroyer of the worlds, and I have come to engage all people with the exception of you, the Pandavas. All the soldiers here on both sides will be slain." Purport: although Arjuna knew that Krishna was his friend and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he was nonetheless puzzled by the various forms exhibited by Krishna. Therefore, he asked further about the actual mission of this devastating force. It is written in the Vedas that the Supreme Truth destroys everything, even Brahma. Yasya brahmecha kshatram cha ube bhavata odana mritur yasyo pasashechanam ka ita vedayatrasa. Everyone else are devoured by the Supreme. This form of the Supreme Lord is all in all. Devouring giant. This Supreme Lord is an all-devouring giant, and here Krishna presents himself in that form of all-devouring time. Except for a few Pandavas, everyone who was present in that battlefield would be devoured by him. Arjuna was not in favor of the fight, and he thought it was better not to fight, then there would be no frustration. In reply, the Lord is saying that even if he did not fight, every one of them would be destroyed, for that is his plan. If he stopped fighting, they would die. In another way, death cannot be checked. Even if he did not fight, in fact, they were already dead. Time is destruction, and all manifestations are to be vanquished by the desire of the Supreme Lord. That is the law of nature. So, what was Arjuna going to do? Mike? Oh. As you like. So what was Arjuna going to do? When Krishna wanted him to fight, what was he going to do? Yeah. He was going to put down his bow. He was going to go to the forest, right? He was going to abandon his duty. But Krishna And he's telling him that these people, it's their destiny, it's karma, that they're going to perish regardless. These bodies are very temporary. And these are their position, this is their duty, this is what they're supposed to do. So whether or not you fight, they're going to die anyway in this battle. So you might as well take up your bow, Arjuna, and fight. So this verse, it talks about destruction and time. And recently, there's been an instance of destruction down south. As we may have heard, there was a hurricane that hit, wasn't there? What was the name of it? Hurricane Ian? Yeah, so there was a hurricane that hit recently, as well as this pandemic that hit. Both of these two things are, destructive forces in this world. And this verse, it can apply to that, actually. So, what is the Krishna conscious perspective of this destruction, or when some natural disaster comes and seemingly wipes out, seemingly innocent people? What is the Krishna conscious perspective? Well, Prabhupada writes in one purport that Krishna conscious means to see everything as Krishna sees it. Right? We have to develop the eyes of the Shastra. And what is Krishna's view on everything? Well, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he discusses there's two different ways you could view things. There's Jagat Darshan and there's Golok Darshan. This Jagat Darshan, it's basically the materialistic view of, the people this day and age. They think that all of this material energy, it is here for me to manipulate and exploit and try to gratify my senses with it. And then this Golok Darshan, it's pretty much the opposite. It's knowing that everything is meant for the Lord's enjoyment. All of this material energy, I can't get any pleasure from trying to manipulate it and enjoy it. Any lasting pleasure, at least. I might get something very fleeting, but it's just going to bring me more suffering. So I might as well use it in the service of the Lord, and in that way, to be pleasing to the Lord, and then He will arrange actual enjoyment that is not so temporary. The devotee, he's not after any type of enjoyment on a pure level, but this naturally occurs because the Lord, He looks out for His devotees, because He loves them very much. He wants the best for them. So He supplies happiness and real lasting enjoyment when they come to Him and when they serve Him. So, when there is this concentrated human suffering in the world, like a hurricane or a pandemic, people have a tendency to abandon the thought of God or question God. If God is so great, why would He do this? This is terrible. Where was God on this one? My Uncle Jack, he died in the hurricane. Where was God? This is what the people are thinking, right? This is a prime display of rascaldom, because they're misguided. And they're thinking that my Uncle Jack, he was a good guy. Why would God take him out? They think that we're all living peacefully and we're getting some little happiness from this material energy, so why can't God just let us go on and enjoy it? But God, He brings these things to shake people sometimes. Like, wake up. Jeev jago, jeev jago. Gora Chandra Bole. They're sleeping on the lap of Maya. Wake up. Chant the holy names of God. What are you doing? Most people don't think of God until some disaster comes. It's rather sad. And all of a sudden, there's this rapidly rotating storm that comes and annihilates a town or a village. And then the people say, God, where were you on that one? What the heck? You're getting in the way of my enjoyment. This is rascal number one. They think God isn't good because he didn't protect us. So because we think like that, we're subject to suffering in the material world. We think that I am here in this world just to enjoy my senses, right? There was a pamphlet that was recently passed out to one of our devotees here at the temple by a Christian, and they had some philosophical questions in it. One of the questions says, what is the meaning of life? And this Christian pamphlet says, the meaning of life is to consume and enjoy. Wow, that's high. That's really elevated. This is the demoniac mentality, actually. This is how skewed man alters. This is how much man alters scripture in pursuance of sense gratification. It's very, very sad. And they think they're doing it in the form of religious activity. These atheists are carrying out their sinful life in the name of religion and saying, Christ is my Savior, so therefore I can go on and do whatever I want because he died for me. And it's not that we have anything blatantly against other religions at all, but we do have something against rascals who alter the word of God to fit their own sense gratification. That is no good, no bueno. This is not how things should be done. This is the importance of parampara. Without parampara, what are we doing? So these people, they're bound to suffer, and this is, with this mentality of Maya, what do they think the result is going to be? You know, in Florida, they're thinking, okay, we'll go fishing, and we'll catch thousands of fish. We'll kill them and we'll sell them to people to eat their corpses. And then the money we get from selling these dead fish to people, we'll use to drink something and smoke something and get with those women who are parading around with little to nothing on all day long on the beach. And I'm going to live it up in Miami. This is the way to live. This is how these people are behaving, right? This is their mentality. So when God sends a hurricane and starts destroying things, then they question God. We're doing our own thing. What are you doing, God? Sending a hurricane? This is an insane mentality. People going on living a total sinful life, just living it up, and then questioning why these natural disasters come. And they're shocked. They say, I can't even believe it. A hurricane came. Oh, yeah. So when someone important dies, they're also shocked, right? Like the Queen of England. She was like 96 years old. The people are saying, I can't believe she died. What's shocking about a 96-year-old woman dying? Right? People think, I'm going to enjoy nicely. I'll give some money to the Queen. A little remuneration because she's a nice lady, and I'll go on living. Very good, very good. And therefore, God should make me happy because I'm good. I'm giving to this nice lady, and I'm working a job, and I'm doing all right. So God should give me happiness. right? Give and take mentality with God. These good people, all of these so-called good people are going to hell. They're all going to hell. And the parents of the children of these families, they're doing nothing but assisting these children, a one-way ticket to hell. It's really bad, this Kali Yuga, and it's just progressing more and more. Rishi, he mentioned the 12th canto in a recent Bhagavatam class, and it inspired me to, start reading those descriptions, and it's really... all of the things that Prabhupada are describing will come in the 50 years or so between the time he wrote it and now, pretty much have happened. And that's like such a short time, and it's just going to get worse and worse. So the demoniac mentality, it's taking over. They're making such a big deal about these plagues or these viruses like COVID. Something like 6.5 million, I think, have died worldwide from COVID. And each year, like 70 billion are getting... No, 70 million are getting annihilated by another form of death, but they're not shocked by that. But they're so shocked that, oh, there's a plague. It's hitting India so hard. You remember that? These people in India, they know about Krishna. At least a lot of them, they should. It's the culture. And they're blatantly going against Scripture. So why would you think that this plague is hitting them so hard? It seems logical, doesn't it? Like cause and effect. You live a sinful life and God provides what's coming. So some people may say that I'm speaking like heavily, or I'm not being compassionate towards the people in general, but actually the people in general have no compassion. The devotee is the only one who has any compassion, because he's not on this bodily platform. At least he understands that to lament for the body is useless. And the materialists, they're busy lamenting for the body, right? So the devotee, it's not that he's free of lamentation. He's lamenting, oh, those 6.5 million people who died from COVID worldwide, none of them had the chance to become Krishna conscious. A very, very small percentage had the chance to become Krishna conscious. That is the real lamentation, that all these people are wasting their lives. They don't come across this Krishna consciousness and they have to take another birth. That is the real lamentation. That is the real disaster. These akleshas that Krishna provides, it's part of nature. These akleshas are of 3 types. There's adhyatmika, adhibhautika, and adhidaivaka. And adhyatmika klesha it's pertaining to the body, this bodily discomfort, these diseases that we get, right? I'm not feeling well today due to some sickness, so I can't do my duty. This is called adhyatmaka. And the adhibhautika klesha, it's due to the other living entities. This mosquito, he's biting me. These chiggers, they're ridiculous. These are just the kleshas. These are temporary things that are in nature. These other living entities, what are we going to do? Prabhu, he was tired and he yelled at me. Shh, bummer. What can you do? Move on. And then this other klesha, adhidaivaka, is pertaining to the weather or natural disturbances like the hurricane and the pandemic. Some famine, some, like that. So these things are causing natural disturbance, and in the material world, there are many ups and downs. And they may come and they may go. But the devotee's duty in the presence of these ups and downs is to remain more tolerant than a tree and more humble than the straw on the street, very meek, and always chanting the Lord's holy names. And in this way, he becomes aloof to these material things that are happening. It doesn't bother him anymore. So this is the goal, to always chant Hare Krishna, and in that way we'll become off this material platform eventually, Krishna willing. So what these materialists they call normal is full of suffering, and we know this, and we should be deeply disturbed by this, that they may be laughing and have a smile on while they're out intoxicating in the streets, but they're really suffering like anything. And it's our duty to try to get them this transcendental literature so they can get out of it. This is real welfare work. Welfare work, it does include building hospitals or institutions or like that, but this is just welfare work in relation to the body. It's actually, on an internal scale, it's pretty useless, You build a hospital so sick people can get cured for a couple more years so they can live on for, a blink of an eye. Less than a blink of an eye in the eternal scope of view. You build schools so all the children can be trained up how to be demons. I mean, this is what most people think when they hear welfare work. But real welfare work, it's in relation to presenting this Krishna conscious movement to the mass of people in general. Because without it, they're doomed. And they're just going to succumb to their twisted conceptions and ideas. They're just going to say, oh yeah, no restraint for sense enjoyment. Let's go on and just try to enjoy, let's go to the water park. Let's go to the water park and enjoy, right? So many things they have in this material world to try to enjoy, but we see it's just not doing it. Because it's not meant to do it. We're a fish out of water. We can't get enjoyment from trying. A fish cannot get enjoyment from trying to breathe air. He needs to be put back in the water. This water is a spiritual world. He needs to dovetail everything he does with Krishna, and then he will be able to breathe again. So, we're very, very sorry that this pandemic and this hurricane has hit Florida. But we're not for the way that the materialists may think. Not because Uncle Richie's yacht got destroyed. We're sorry because these people are suffering in the material world, and they don't know a way out, and they're losing their lives in the process of just trying to grab onto the material energy and mistake happiness for that. So, if we can help them become Krishna conscious, that is the greatest thing we can possibly do. That is why Srila Prabhupada made this institution of International Society for Krishna Consciousness to create a proper Brahminical class of men so they can teach up the people in general on how to live as Krishna as the center of their life. Okay, well, thank you very much, Prabhus, for kindly hearing Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is. Do either of you have any questions, or are there any comments or questions online? Okay. Okay, thank you, Prabhus. Vanchakalpa Turubhyascha